right now, we what we do is we champion for development of communities, and most importantly through empowering the young people, because we believe that Africa's greatest potential is actually among the youth. So without saying much, just to want to encourage the young people here that whatever you're doing for your community, do not look down upon yourself. Continue with the little thing that you're doing, like whatever Professor Wangari Maathai says, that the story of a little hummingbird, that you continue to contribute significantly to the attainment of global development, global prosperity, and it starts at the local community level. So for those of us who are here to just get to hear about opportunities for studies, like Nelson Mandela says that indeed that education is the most powerful tool which can be used to change the world. So keep going for it. Apply for not just one scholarship, but many of them, and I'm sure you will get it. So back to you, Emmah, and thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you so much for that, Mwati, and for joining and for helping put this together. The other organizing partner is from Youth Up Global. And so I'll just invite Dr. Faith also to tell us a bit about Youth Up and invite us, Official.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me clearly? Please confirm. Emmah, John, and all the team at Transcending Africa Foundation. Awesome work that you guys are doing, and we are happy to partner to do this with you. So there is some background noise coming in, but I want to be sure that you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. All right. Thank you everyone for joining. Youth Up Global. My name is Faith Wondia, Dr. Faith, and I'm the founder and president of Youth Up Global. Youth Up Global is a fast-growing social enterprise in the business of addressing youth unemployment through human capital development, and our focus is within education and entrepreneurship, and we focus our work within the developing countries, Africa majorly. And what we do precisely is to help young people across the developing countries to find those opportunities that ordinarily they will not be able to find or to have access to. So connecting global opportunities to young people, regardless of where they are coming from. And we know that for you to be able to connect young people to global opportunities, you need to skill them up, right? And that is why we talk about human capital development. So there is need for us to do a whole lot of work in education. So quality education is of essence at Youth Up Global, and that is why we have a subsidiary called UTDIA, where we move away from advocacy to empowerment. Now at UTDIA, we are also executing our mandate of that quality education, ensuring that we are providing practical-based education, ensuring that young people will have access to digital education and be able to arm them to access those opportunities that are opening. And as you would know, because of the digital transformation that is taking place, old jobs are giving way for new jobs. Those new jobs will require new skills. And for you to be able to tap into those new skills, for you to be able to tap into those new jobs, you would need those new skills. And then you would need to have the 21st century education, which is not available within most of our traditional. And for opportunities like this, giving out scholarship, this is also what Youth Up Global has been part of, giving out scholarship, providing access to opportunities like this, where young people will have access to study at their choice and their dream education, whether it's at master's or PhD, or other professional education. So we've been doing this. When we saw this, we said, okay, this is an opportunity that we can work together to be able to provide and amplify the voice so it can reach to everybody. So I welcome everybody today. Have a lovely time, getting to understand how you'll be able to have access to this opportunity that are opening. And also welcome you to follow all that we do at various social media and be part of our community. Thank you. Back to you, Emmah. So I don't take much of your time because there is a lot to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much for his post struggling with that myself. But thank you so much to Dr. Faye for shedding light on global and the utility project. And you make a very good point to attain some of the opportunities that we have access to in day and era. We need not just to be equipped with skills, but to access opportunities such as this one, which empower young people and give young people the resources they need to pursue their goals. And so with that, I think we'll get right into it. I had mentioned earlier that we are very happy to have all of us on this call. And if you haven't yet, just drop in the chat where you're joining us from and who you are. We would just love to have an idea of who's with. Thank you for that. And I'll be allowing the panelists that we have for this evening to open their videos or to switch on their videos and be able to introduce themselves to us, and then we can get right into the discussion. And so we can start with Grace. If you're in a position to kindly switch on your video so we can see you, and then tell us a bit about who you are. Then after Grace, we will have Fama, and we shall proceed.
Hi, everyone. Pleased to join us today. My name is Grace Kathure Mwati. I am a Mandela Rhodes Scholar, class of 2024. So I joined at the University of Cape Town, pursuing a Master's in Applied Economics. And I am happy to join this webinar just to give you tips and insights on how to progress with your application. Yes, thank you, Emmah.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for that, Emmah and Grace. My name is Fama Jallow, and I'm part of the MRF class of 2023. I am currently at Stellenbosch University studying mechanical engineering. So I'll be here to guide you guys about maybe a few questions you might have about the scholarship. And thank you very much. And I'm glad to be here. And thank you, Emmah.
Thank you for that, Fama. Can I have Yvan?
Hello, okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. I'm Yvan Zolo. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm Yvan Zolo. I'm a medical doctor from Cameroon. I am currently an academic staff in the University of Cape Town, in the Department of Surgery, Global Surgery Division. And I'm also pursuing my PhD in global surgery. So I was a Mandela Rhodes Scholar, or I'm a Mandela Rhodes Scholar class of 2022. And the scholarship helped me to complete funded my Masters of Sciences in Global Surgery studies. Yeah, it's a pleasure for me to be here and to get to reply to your questions and your preoccupations. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Yvan. As we had, in case you were not sure which meeting you're joining, we are going to be talking about the Mandela Rhodes Foundation Scholarship. The scholarship opened a few days ago, and the purpose of this meeting is to help all of you who are interested in applying for this program to be equipped and be able to put in a strong application. And so I'll begin by asking the various panelists to give us just a brief overview of what the Mandela Rhodes Scholarship is about from their perspective as scholars. So just 1 minute, the things that stand out for you, so that we will pick it up from there. So we can now begin with Fama, and then Yvan, and then Grace.
Sure. Thank you so much, Emmah, for that. So the Mandela Rhodes Scholarship is a full scholarship that covers a 1-year honors degree and also a 2-year master's program. So I think for me, one of the things that really stood out for me for the scholarship was actually the leadership program, because prior to the MRF, I was studying in China before I moved to South Africa to do my master's in mechanical engineering. I didn't just want a program that focused on academics, but also a program that can in some way help me cultivate more of my leadership qualities and more so. So yeah, thank you.
Great. Thank you for that, Fama. And I love that you highlight the fact that it covers 1-year honors or a 1-year master's or a 2-year master's, depending on the master's program you will be enrolled to. But then you choose one or the other, and then they'll fund that for you. Grace?
Thank you, Emmah. Thank you, Fama, for that. I think you've pretty much highlighted what the scholarship is all about. But to add on to what Fama has said, the scholarship prepares young African leaders to become better versions of themselves so that you can produce greater impact in an African context. For me, it is the African context that is really emphasized by the Mandela Rhodes Scholarship. So besides funding your scholarship, there is the leadership mentorship part of it, where you get to network with other young leaders, exceptional young leaders across Africa. It is tailored for the African leader, young African leader, and also focusing on aspects that sometimes are overlooked in society, aspects like reconciliation, which is really one of the core pillars of the scholarship. I know we will be talking a bit more about that, but those are the things that stand out for me.
All right. Thank you so much, Grace. Yvan?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. So the question is, what how do I define the Mandela Rhodes Scholarship? Okay, so I would like to say it's a great scholarship. I will not say the best, because it's not good to like say this is the best, this is the worst, and everything, because then it conditions your mind. So it's a great scholarship. In the sense that it provides you funding for your studies, and it doesn't really necessarily care about your background as an African. You can be from a poor family, you get the scholarship. You can be from a rich family, you get the scholarship. So it's really good. Like it doesn't really discriminate. So that's a good part about the scholarship. The other thing for me is that it helps you to develop your person. I mean, it's good for your personal development, in the sense that you will, as a scholar, you are going to meet people from diverse backgrounds, and you're going to meet people doing amazing things in their own fields. You'll be a medical doctor, an engineer. You meet somebody who is involved in dancing and who is changing the world by dancing, and you'll be like, how does this happen? So it helps you to cultivate that mindset where you respect everyone in whatever they're doing. and you get to meet a lot of people. The other thing is it has a lot of opportunities. I mean, being a Mandela Rhodes Scholar, you have a lot of opportunities. There is, for example, the Annie Prize, which is a scholar, like an internal scholarship again, which is more like for people involved in entrepreneurship. It permits you like to have money or capital to develop your social entrepreneurship. So it's really important. It's only open to Mandela Rhodes Scholars. So you can only get this, you can only get that funding if you are a Mandela Rhodes Scholar. And this is something that is for life. There is no age limit. The other thing is that it doesn't only fund the honors and masters, it also opens you the door to getting funding for your PhD, and this PhD you can do it in the UK. So there's another internal scholarship again only for Mandela Rhodes Scholar and I think Rhodes Scholars too, that you can get if to help you make your studies to help you continue your studies, your PhD studies in the UK. And also, like, the scholarship opens you to a community, a lot of people, you can get a lot of help. Other scholars, previous scholars can help your alumni, your classmates, your cohort members, even the junior ones, because they know you are kind of like a family. And then there is also some sort of social capital that you have by being a Mandela Rhodes Scholar. I mean, you belong to the Rhodes Trust family, you're a Rhodes Scholar in code. So there's a lot of social capital that you get from that. I mean, somebody can meet you, and because you're a Mandela Rhodes Scholar, in a way, they will give you some sort of credit because you're a Mandela Rhodes Scholar. So I think that for me, those are some of the opportunities that somebody can tap into, and somebody like can definitely have been a Mandela Rhodes Scholar. Thank you.
Great, thank you for that, Yvan. I think you guys mentioned very important highlights about the scholarship, the African context, which Grace touched on, as well as the values, which we will talk about next. But also, Yvan brings about the fact that it opens doors for way more opportunities along the way, not just for your studies. So allow me to switch to the idea of values, and I will ask each of our panelists to speak about one of each of the four pillars. So you'll just pick any of the four pillars that you'd want to make mention of, and what you think it's about, and why that is important for applicants to keep in mind. Just before I allow the panelists to do that, I gather that our meeting has a capacity limit of 100 participants, and so we have just about reached that limit. So for those who may have friends who are asking, just let them know about that, but we will be sure to share this recording. So with that, allow me to request any of them who's ready to pick one of the pillars and just make mention of, yeah.
Hi, hi everyone. So I guess I would just start. I think for me, the pillar that was pretty interesting for me was on the entrepreneurship side. As Yvonne mentioned, that with the Mandela, it's just not a scholarship, but it's also kind of a stepping stone for you to do more things, especially in the African context. I had a background more of in aerospace engineering, right? So it has always been more of a passion for me to use what I have learned from outside and use that as a tool, more of to make an impact within the, let's say, the African continent in this instant. So for MRF, seeing like entrepreneurship also as a tool or way that young African leaders can use that to make a difference within the continent, and also provide them more of like different ways and tools to actually do that. For me, that was like pretty interesting, and one of the reasons that actually pushed me to apply for the scholarship. Yeah. So I think it's very important that as you're applying for this scholarship, all the pillars are equally important, but also to keep in mind how each pillar connects to you, especially you as an African, a young African, and using that and ways that you can use that to actually make a difference within the continent. Yeah.
Very well said. I love the fact that you mentioned you need to find how you fit in or connect with each of these pillars or values. Thank you for that, Fama. Grace?
Thank you, Emmah. The other pillar of the scholarship is education. And the requirement on this pillar is that you should have excellent results, and the metrics for that is a second upper and above. And not only that, but you should also believe that the pursuit of education accounts for more than your personal gains. It is actually to promote transformation and change in society, and have evidences of that, how you have used your education, or how in the pursuit of your education, your excellent education, you have promoted to impact or change in the communities. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in big ways. Even in the small ways, as a young leader in Africa, how you contributed to change while you were at the university. Did you go an extra mile beyond yourself to actually get into society, look at the things that are affecting the society, and try to make impact and change through that? So you can capitalize on this if it's your strong area, and come out strongly on this, pointing to your principles and your values as you did the various initiatives that accounted to transformation and change in the society. So excellent grades, and the metrics here is second upper and above, and beyond yourself. How did you use your education to benefit society and to create transformation?
Very well said, Grace. Thank you for highlighting that. And so you need to make sure that in your undergrad degree, you got above a second upper. I gather that Yvan has dropped off, so I guess since there are four, I'll let Fama handle another one, and then Grace handle another one as we try to get him back on board.
Hi, sorry, can you hear me?
Oh, perfect. Go
I
ahead.
dropped out. I had an issue. I did not get the question. What is the question about?
We're talking about the values or pillars of the MRF, and so we're just highlighting in key aspects to keep in mind as you write your application. So Fama has talked about entrepreneurship. Grace has talked about the education pillar, so you can pick any of the remaining pillars and just elaborate.
Oh, okay. So, from what I remember, there is the education kind of excellence. You just need to like have. I mean, if others have spoken about it, then it's fine. I think what I might add is the reconciliation part of it. So, like you should have that potential for reconciliation, or you should have like some sort of need for reconciliation in your life story or in your line of work, something like that. So. It doesn't need to be like somebody who killed your parents or somebody who burned down your country, but it should be like you should have like that mindset of reconciliation. You should have those values as an individual, somebody who would like to not throw the child with the, not throw the water with the child, but kind of like think systematically and see how to reconcile people in conflicts, and how to reconcile yourself with people maybe who caused you some harm in the past or something like that. So I think that is also one pillar that you should really consider when applying for the scholarship. I don't know if I answered the question.
You did quite well. Ladies, which of you would like to take on the last one?
Yeah, thank you, Emmah, and for the other scholars for maybe going through some of the pillars of the MRF. But just a heads up, and the fact is that when we talk about the MRF scholarship, you don't have to fit in all the, let's say, pillars. Let's say for entrepreneurship, you don't have to already be an entrepreneur and maybe have already raised about $10 million. Or when it comes to leadership, maybe be like a governor or whatever. That can be, it can be as little as you maybe leading few people in your community. And the thing about the MRF is all about potential, and for them the goal is to cultivate that potential within you as an African person, right? So I don't want anyone to rule themselves out because they're like, oh, maybe the only leadership position that I have ever had was one, or maybe I'm not really that much into entrepreneurship, right? So the goal is to just have that potential and just have the intention more of to lead and have a mindset of making a difference within your community, right? Yes, that do have to be backed by one or two things, but it doesn't have to be gland for you to be considered maybe a potential MRF scholar. Just putting that out there, like for everyone that is like just maybe interested in applying for the scholarship.
Very well said. Thank you for highlighting that. And I think it's important that we note that it's a matter of embodying the values, as Emmah puts it. If you are a leader, then you do not need a position, as we often say. You may not have a running business like Fama says, but you have an entrepreneurial spirit. Or you may not have gone through very huge conflict, but you have the heart for reconciliation. And so just expressing how you embody those values is what counts. And so maybe, Grace, you can talk about the last value or pillar.
Come again, Emmah.
Talk about the last value. I think that would be leadership.
Okay, so on leadership, so the scholarship is a flagship of is a legacy flagship of Nelson Mandela, and we draw a lot of lessons from Nelson Mandela as a person and as a leader. And one of the things that Nelson Mandela told the earliest cohorts was, "Don't try and become like me. Just become the best version of yourself. And from there, the best version of yourself will ultimately translate into impact in society and change and transformation in the society." So that is the bit of leadership. And at Mandela Rhodes, the key thing is, how have you become a leader? What are those processes that have led you to become a leader? What are the principles that made you aspire to become a leader? And how have you lived out leadership? And what impact has your leadership promoted in the community and in the society? So from within, your journey of becoming to now your journey of influencing, and about that, it doesn't have to be grand, I was the president of the student union in Kenya. No, it doesn't have to be that. But in what cases, based on your principles or what you believe leadership to be, how has that modeled you, and how has that you yourself, that version of yourself as a leader, contributed to change in the society, either through even maybe organizations you have formed, or friends that have come together and collaborated to a certain cause in the society. So talk about that, but your reflections should majorly be the process that has led you to become a leader and how that made you move out of your tracks into now effecting transformation in the society. Okay.
Great. Thank you for that, Grace. Very well put. And so it's a matter of exuding the values in whichever large or small context that you have. And again, you don't need to align to all the values with such accurate perfection and say, I am a leader of an entrepreneurial establishment which is involved in reconciling communities which are seeking education. No, just express who you are and how those values are expressed in different aspects of who you are. So let's talk about the application process. What is the journey leading to you guys eventually becoming scholars? And so here we have scholars from, I think, 2 years back, just so that we make sure the process has not changed here. So I'll allow Yvan to start us off and share with us what your journey was leading there, and then the rest will add on that, things that you may have left out.
Well, I don't necessarily know if I know how to answer your question, but basically, how I had when I was still in medical school in my undergraduate, so I had this opportunity to come to UCT to do my master's, so I got admission, and but I was left with like 1 year to complete my studies. So, but I didn't have funding for that, so I did not have enough money to pay for that. So one of my mentors told me, yeah, there's this scholarship you can apply for, and yeah. So I applied for it. I wouldn't say that I was taking it too serious, but the last minute I was like, yeah, let me just let me apply for it. So the application procedure, I think you need 3 recommendation letters. In fact, more information is on the website, so I might not be accurate, but in my year, I think it was 3 recommendation letters. So I got one from one of my my supervisor here in South Africa, the one who supervised my masters, who was supposed to supervise my masters. I got one from my mentor, my academic mentor, and I got one from a mentor in the US. So I got 3. Those were my 3 recommenders. Then I wrote the essays. There were 2 essays that you needed to write. One was on your personal state, like your personal story, your life story, from when you were young, when you I mean right now, and then projections for the future. And then the other essay was on a cleaving issue in your country, so an issue that divides people in your country. I wrote on a civil war that is in our country, because Cameroon is a French and English country. So there is this thing where that happens, where people in the English part of the country, they are fighting against the government to ask for their independence. So I wrote on that because it's something that divides people. Some people are like, people should not fight. Others are like, people should fight. So yeah, so that is what I wrote on. And the application is a little bit long, because after applying, you have to wait. There's a long process where they'll send you an email. Yes, we receive your application. The deadline of the submission have closed. Now, like things like 1 or 2 months after, they tell you if you've made it to round 2. And then after round 2, they tell you if you've made it to round 3. And then round 3, after that, I think there's an interview, which you're supposed to be flown to South Africa. But in our year, there was COVID, so we did the interview online. And then after that, now you have to wait like a couple of days, then you receive your results. I got my results the same day, like 1 hour after my interview. So yes, I think so that is what that was the process that led me to getting the scholarship. And I don't know if I answered your question properly.
You did, Yvan, and I think your entire explanation explains that patience is one of the virtues you need as you begin the application, because it can be quite lengthy. I'll allow the other panelists to also share a bit about the application process, and similarly, you can share a bit about your experience going through it. We can start with you then.
Yes, I think that Zuru has mentioned some of the most important things about the application. I think prior to becoming an MRF scholar, I have never heard about the MRF scholarship, right? So I was just one day, I believe, on LinkedIn, and I saw about the MRF scholar on the page of the first Gambian MRF scholar, who is currently now at Oxford under the Rhodes Scholarship. So just highlighting more about how the MRF is more of a stepping stone to bigger things and more opportunities, right? So I saw it at once, and I really didn't try considering it. But then a second time, I believe I saw it again, and I was like, this might be a sign from the universe. Let me just check what this scholarship is about. So that's when I decided to go on the MRF website and learn more about the scholarship. And at that particular point, it felt like it was something that really aligned with some of the values I had and some of the values I was wishing to cultivate. So as Yvan mentioned, the scholarship requires recommendation letters, which I got from professors at that particular time from the university I was. And it also required more about an essay about the topic and also a personal essay. So I wrote about democracy in Gambia, because at that time we have been under a dictatorship for so long. So that was one of the things that I highlighted in my essays, and also my personal journey as one of the only few aerospace engineers from my country, and my perspective about space and what I'm looking forward to contribute, especially within the African context, right? So after that process, it really do take a lot of time, because I can remember sometimes just being in bed and I receive an email and they're like, oh, you made it to the next level. And I was like, okay, till we got to a point that they were like, oh, like you are at the final level and we want to actually interview you, right? So just 1 or 2 tips at the interview when you get to that point, right? Just remember to be authentic, right? That is something that's very important to the MRF and the group of people that are going to interview you, right? And for us, I believe after a week or so, we were able to get our results, and we did get a call that some of us that made it or not. And just a heads up, I think if you really want to learn more, I think you should check out Zuru's videos on YouTube. That might be a very helpful resource. Funny enough, I actually watched some of his videos on YouTube while I was applying and preparing for the interview, and it was actually very helpful. So thank you, Yvan, for that and doing for the work you do. And yeah, thank you.
Great. Thank you for that, Fama. Grace?
Thank you, Yvan and Fama. Great insights there. For me, I heard about the scholarship from my boyfriend, my fiancé back then, who was a Mandela Rhodes Scholar. He's now my husband. So we're both scholars. Yeah, so that's how I got to learn about the Mandela Rhodes Scholarship. How I went about it, truth is, the time is really limited. I see that the application deadline is 21st April. So that means you have 1 month to put up everything together and make a strong application. So how did I go about it? First, the people that are really difficult to deal with, because everything is done by yourself, but your recommenders are people that are not necessarily in a rush. And if you're looking for high profile people to do your recommendation, then they might be busy with other things. So you had better start thinking about who can put a good recommendation for you and reach out to them as soon as possible, even before you start with writing the essays and everything, because that you can't control. If they are slow, it will bite on you and it will be a disadvantage to you. So my recommenders, one was someone who could tell about my academic potential. The other one was my supervisor at work, who could tell about my ingenuity and innovation at the place of work. Then the third person was someone who could tell about my leadership potential, that someone I had worked with on a leadership capacity, and he could really do a good recommendation for me. So it does no harm to give a guideline to your recommenders about what the scholarship is all about and what the scholarship is looking for. So don't shy away from telling them, these are the points I would like you to include in my recommendation, because this is how I require to come out strongly for this particular scholarship application. So the essays also, Fama has said something that is really important, and that is about being your authentic self. Bring your authentic self. Every person has a unique story, and that is what makes us stand out. You just need some time to reflect on the processes that have made you the person that you are, and see that that entire process is a gem that is unique to you, and then tell that out in the most excellent way possible, because the only thing that will speak to you is your application until now you get to the interview stage where they're going to see the face on the application. So do an introspection of yourself. Look at your unique story, the journey that you have come thus far. Let the 4 pillars guide you, and then do your essays. There is the personal statement that you have to do, and then now there is the essay about a pertinent issue in your context. I think for me, I wrote about Not Yet Uhuru, and I connected that with the reason why I want to study economics at UCT. And that is because from the past of the Kenyan history, how we got to an economic system that is really inequitable, all that, I connected all that to neocolonialism. Yeah, so write your own story, look at a pertinent issue in your country. It doesn't have to be what we have talked about. Just write about what is that story about your country, about your society, about yourself that breaks your heart, and you would want an amend to it or a change on it. Yeah, so the time is really limited. Just hit the road running. It might look like 1 month is a lot, but it is not. Then be as succinct as possible, because there is also a word count For the personal statement, you should not exceed 500 words, and for the essay, you should not exceed 800 words. So really putting your statements in a concise way and also in a manner that speaks persuasively and consistently. Yeah.
Great, thank you. I think that is all very elaborate, guys. I can see there are questions that are coming in on the chat. Please keep asking them. I see some of them are already being answered, but in case yours is missed, we will be sure to go ahead and respond to them. But as the scholars have mentioned, the fact that the time is already ticking away and 1 month is such a short time. So for the initial application, you need those 5 documents. You need a recommendation from someone who can vouch for you academically. So that would be your academic supervisor or a teacher of yours. And then the other 2 people need to be people who know you well, who can speak about you. And so while you might know a head of state, and you might feel that if the president writes to MRF, surely they can't fail to pick me. If they cannot speak about you at a very personal level, then you may be gambling with your chance. So ensure there are people who can speak about you. And unlike other scholarships, you do not have them write a letter and give it to you. They have to write it and submit it themselves. So you need to be very clear in explaining to them the modalities of how they need to submit the recommendations. So they write, then they log into MRF. You send them an invitation through the MRF website. They will write it and then they will submit it themselves. So it's quite the process of following up with them, keeping in touch. And you want to do it as early as possible. I think I had an experience where one of my recommenders, up to the deadline, had still not submitted her recommendation letter. And she was like, I can't log into my Google account. I'm like, really? We've had a whole month. So you want to do it very early and help them and support them through the entire process. The scholars have also spoken about the essays. Make it as personal as possible. Be yourself. You don't need to write about the issues they've talked about. What is it, like Chris said, that breaks your heart as a person? Where do you want to see a change happen and things like that? Yes, Chris.
Yeah, Emmah, just to clarify on something, the MRF actually doesn't allow you to give your essays to someone to review them. Yes. Yeah, just look out for the grammatical errors, and what helps is that maybe you can do a write-up in one sitting, then take a break, come back, and then you will be able to see the errors and where you need to like shorten your sentences so that you're also clear and succinct and including the vital details that need to be in the essays.
Yes, thank you for that clarification, Grace. It's a solo journey, guys. You have to reflect, think about who you are, think about what matters to you, what has helped you get to where you are, and yeah, express that in the best way possible. Sleeping over it helps, using Grammarly to look out for those mistakes and stuff like that, but it needs to be as authentic as possible, because should you make it to the interview stage, then it's an entire different ball game. They will test the personality or the persona of the person who wrote. So ensure you are as true to that as possible. So as has also been implied, at it's in various stages, around 4 stages. So you're in the first stage right now where you're putting in your application. Then after that, you'll be told that you've proceeded to the next level and the next level, I think up to the 3rd stage. Then you'll be invited to South Africa for an interview. So you want to put in your best shot so that at least at worst for the flight to South Africa, So there's that. So at this point, it's worry about how well you're able to put out your story. We have seen questions about SAQA. That is a thing. And let me just mention, being that I've also come from a Kenyan system, and maybe some of the scholars can also chime in. Kenya has 4-year bachelor's degrees. after which we automatically proceed to master's. But here in South Africa, a bachelor's degree is 3 years, after which you proceed to an honors degree, and then you proceed to a master's degree. And so feel free to apply to either the honors degree or the master's degree. But then there is what you call SACWA, which I'll allow the panelists to speak a bit about how their experience was, which is basically, to break it down to very lay terms, a system of seeing where you fall in that system, where your Kenyan qualification or your other whichever country you're coming from, where your qualification falls in the South African system, which then places you to the course or the program you should apply for. It's just important to keep that at the back of your mind so that you get through the levels, then you would need to make that application. But I wouldn't say it's quite something to worry about at this stage. But I'll also allow the other scholars, because you're coming from different countries as well, that the possibility it's different. So maybe you can speak to that issue of where you need to be at by the time you're applying for this. So we can have Fama and then Zolo, then we'll come back to Grace.
Thank you, Emmah. So I think for me, the SACWA was a bit very interesting for me because I didn't study at home and also maybe within the continent, right? I was required to actually get a document from the Chinese government to prove my degree is legit before submitting also to SACWA, right? So I think one thing that I have to say was that you have to make sure you check the program you're interested in first and the school that you're interested in. I believe University of Cape Town and University of Stellenbosch do not require you to have a SACWA. And because I was interested in Wits University in Johannesburg, they actually do require a SACWA. So for me, since the process was a bit long, and by the time I got my scholarship, I haven't applied to any university in South Africa. I decided to just apply for my two top choices, which was UCT and also Stellenbosch University. I eventually decided to go to Stellenbosch University because it aligns with my goal at that particular time and more of what I was interested in. And I think another thing that you have to check is if you need the SACWA for your visa application, maybe there are certain countries that do not need that while applying for their visa. For me, coming from the Gambia, I did not need a SACWA either for, let's say, my university application and also for my visa application. So just to bring it back forward and to break it down, make sure that you check the university that you are applying to and their requirements. If you're interested in UCT and maybe Stellenbosch University, you might not need it, but if you might not need it, also check about your country and if you are required about that, and just make sure to just check on those things. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Zolo.
Yes, so maybe just to add to what Fama said, to apply for the Mandela Rhodes Scholarship, you don't need SACWA. So it's not part of the application process. So it's just the recommendation, the 3 recommendation, the 2 essays, and I think a picture of you, and then you fill in a form online, basically. And maybe to touch a bit on what Grace spoke about on the essay, on not giving your essay to somebody. Alcohol is forbidden to people below 18, but most of us drank alcohol before 18. We are still alive. So that is that. Now to speak about the SACWA, what I would advise you to do is to drink. Sorry, drinking is not part of it. Is to apply for your SACWA as soon as possible. If it's even possible for you to apply for your SACWA now, if you have your degree already, apply for SACWA now, because SACWAs often takes time, and there are a lot of scholars who get frustrated because you can get the Mandela Rhodes Scholarship, you're awarded the scholarship, but you can only get the money when you are in South Africa. And most of the time, for you to get in South Africa, you need SACWA in some of the embassies. So if you get the scholarship and you don't get SACWA, it's going to delay your coming to South Africa, and it might even lead to you not getting the scholarship. So it's better if it's possible for you to apply for SACWA now. Do it. So you apply for SACWA now, and then so that by the time you get the scholarship in usually in October, your SACWA is out, or maybe it's about to get out. Also, what you can do is, even if maybe you apply late, if you apply late finally, no, SACWA, I see somebody's asking if it's paid. You have to pay for SACWA. I think it's a good amount of money. It's like 2,200, is at 2,020 rands, something like that. So you have to pay for it. I don't know how the conversion in a Kenyan currency. So try to apply for your SACWA as early as possible. And if maybe you happen now to apply and it's delaying, you can go on the website. Can go on the website and then check on information, contact information of people who work at SACWA, like the directors or whatever. You can text them, or you can email them and then explain your problem, that okay, I applied for my SACWA, but it's delaying, and I would like maybe you to look into the problem, because it really takes time. SACWA can take time, and it can be, yours can be 3 months or 6 months, or sometimes even 1 year. I have a friend of mine who applied for a SACWA in 2022. He got it this year, basically. So it can really be frustrating. So try to apply for it as early as possible. And I don't know if it's something else to add about it. But officially, for the essay, don't show your essay to somebody. Officially, do not show your essay to somebody. Don't show.
All right, ladies.
Yeah. So so on the SACWA, if you're applying to the Department of Economics at UCT, you actually don't need SACWA. Because what the department has is, I don't know about other departments, but I know at the Department of Economics at the University of Cape Town, we don't need SACWA, because the department has its own internal mechanisms for review. So they review your undergraduate scores, and then they see if you're eligible, if you qualify for a place for admission. Then the other thing is, for those that might be applying to the School of Economics at UCT, specifically, you can also, of course, you follow the normal online application, but you can also reach out to the conveners, and the system is really very efficient. Reach out to the conveners and get, if you want to inquire about the progress of your application, reach out to them. In some instances, if you even feel aggrieved, you can actually write to them and get to explain your situation. Then the other thing I will highlight is that the application for the scholarship and application for admission are two different processes. So, of course, the scholarship application will require you to indicate your proposed course of study, but at that stage, that is not binding. Once you get the scholarship, depending on what offers you get, you can actually change your course. So your proposed study, I think you will have 2 options. Or 3, I don't remember the number. Yeah, but your proposed study at the point of scholarship application is not actually binding, and that can change. Yeah, so UCT has, the application process at UCT is not as complicated as other schools, but the thing with UCT is it is really competitive. So now that's the disadvantage with UCT. It is really competitive, but for most departments, you actually don't require a SACA certificate, but go online to their website and see if you would require a SACA certificate for the course of study you want to choose. Thank you, Emmah.
Well said, Grace.
To just add to what Grace and Zoro talked about, I will advise for you guys to apply early for the SACA, but I will not advise for you to apply now, right? I will advise more of to just go to like maybe the university's department that you're interested in, and maybe the course that you're interested in. If you can perhaps send an email to them and be like, hey, I'm interested in this course and I apply by 2025. Do I require a SACA or not? I think then from there you can decide how to go forward. rather than maybe going ahead and maybe applying for the SACA and you don't make it to the different rounds of the scholarship. So in case you do require it, I think you can wait maybe until you're at the second or third round to maybe apply, because at the end of the day, they're not going to give you back your money if you apply for the SACA and you don't get the MRF scholarship. Just to put that out there. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that, guys. I think you raise very critical ideas. First of all, for those who are asking, MRF funds any degree. So it does not matter whether you're in music or dance, like Yvonne talked about, or in media, like myself, or in engineering, like Fama, or economics, like Grace. Whichever program you would want to undertake, provided it's available in a South African university, you'll be funded for it. The only thing you need to do is that, or just not an MBA, yes. You'll just need to justify why you think that program is critical for you to continue on the trajectory you aspire towards. The other thing, so it's the honors is on you to go ahead and look for those programs, to search the various universities, check which one do I fit in, do I qualify for, what are the requirements, do they need a SACA certificate, do they not, and things like that. But I think the ones that are very clear from MRF is that they do not fund an MBA and they do not fund a block course. A block course or a block program is one where you don't necessarily have to be in South Africa in person to pursue it. If you get such a program, then they will not fund you. So you need to be keen on that. From my experience, I think I had a very interesting journey, because when I was applying, I had not graduated yet with my undergrad. And by the time I was getting the scholarship, I had not yet received my graduation certificate from the University of Nairobi. And so it made it very difficult to apply to universities. So I had to write to the various conveners and just explain, guys, this is where I'm at. This is the program I want to do. This is why I have received the scholarship. By the time I was applying, I had received the scholarship. So that became very complicated, because they're like, so what do you have to show for it that you have this degree? And I couldn't apply for SACA either, because of the fact that you need to submit something for SACA. So starting late could have been a challenge. So starting that communication early will be important, and just explaining to the institution what your circumstances are. Like Grace mentioned, systems are quite efficient for most universities, so you should receive feedback. But then I would also say cast your net quite wide. Don't just apply to UCT only, because they do not take SACA. In the economics department, the department I applied to, they asked for it, but it was not like cast in stone. Cast your net quite wide. If you can apply to all the universities that have the program you're looking for, the better. It doesn't hurt to have 4 admissions and then have to pick one from them. So it's just a safety net. What else is there to mention about SACA? I think that covers it. Apply for it at a time when it's reasonable for that, so that you do not throw your money away again. So yeah, keep that at the back of your mind, but it costs some money. On the issue of the essays, now that it is becoming a buzzer, or it's buzzing, the MRF policy is that you should not receive assistance for it. You should not have another person reviewing your essay. So that is what it says, and we would rather not say anything else after that. So that is that. Probably at this juncture, it would be now important to respond to the particular questions that are being asked, those that have not been talked about. So Grace had mentioned the fact that one of the questions I've received is, Do you need to apply your programs? Yes. You need to put in 2 of your top options for the application process. So I will allow the scholars to pick some of these questions. So scholars, if there is a question you have picked out and something has not been mentioned on it, then you can go ahead and respond to that as I, coalesce what is left on the charts, and then keep sending your questions, guys. We will continue to respond to them as time goes by. So I don't know if Yvonne, you want to go ahead and respond to 1 or 2 questions you have that are burning or are particularly speak to your circumstances.
So maybe let me mention again about the AC and showing your AC to people. The thing is, anything that the foundation asks you to do is for your own good. Because if you show your AC to somebody, my AC, I didn't show. But the thing is, if you show it to somebody, a bit like drinking alcohol before 18, it's going to hamper you. Because at the end of the day, when you come for the interview, they will know. They will know that they like what is on paper and the person in front, they are 2 different things. And that is where you fail easily. And even to yourself, it's going to ruin your confidence, because the moment you get there and you see, because when you get there, the environment and everything, there are high class people who are there, and you will feel inferior because you know that you're not the person who wrote those essays. So, or maybe you're not the person who wrote them from A to Z. So you feel inferior. And because you feel inferior, it's going to make you fumble during the interview. So that is why, so all these things are really for your good. Do not show. So you can drink alcohol before 18, but if you drink, you also have brain damage and everything. So same thing with the essay. If you show your essay, you have challenges, you feel it yourself. During the interview, you feel it. You will not be confident. You will be fumbling, and that can lead you to losing your scholarship. Meanwhile, if you just did it alone, you sat, you get all the ideas from people. I mean, get the advisor you're giving you now, and you sit, you write something properly, you use softwares available, Grammarly and others to correct your grammar and everything. You make it so it's best for you not to share your essay. Do not share your essay as much as possible. But you're an adult. It's your life. So I think there is a question about the masters. Like somebody asked if you can do if you have a masters, can you still apply for a scholarship? Yes, you can. I mean, nothing prevents you from applying. I think there are a couple of scholars who have like 1, 2 masters, some of them maybe 3. So and also, somebody asked if you can show it in your, like, you have to speak about what you want to study in the future in your essay. Yes, in your personal statement, because the personal statement is basically you speaking about yourself. So you have to show your childhood in maybe or whatever, your young life, and then your present life and your future. And I think if you're flying to South Africa to come and study and you want them to fund you for your studies, you need to show to them how this study that you're going to come and do is going to contribute to your future. So it's important for you to look for a way to craft your application. Let me speak about myself, how I crafted mine. I'm a medical doctor. I was coming to do global surgery because I want to be a surgeon in the future. And global surgery is not necessarily already surgery, but it is like a platform to help me get into where I want to be. So you need to connect those things. You need to craft your essay very well to show to them how the money they will invest in you is going to help you. And if you're doing a second master's, show to them how this second master's is also going to help for your future. Maybe the second master's is going to be linked to the first master you had, or maybe the second master you are doing is going to be more appropriate for what you want to be in the future. You need to know how to go about this thing, how to craft these things, and how to blend them. I think that's what I wanted to add.
Great, very well said, Zolo. Fama, would you want to also respond to a few questions? If there's an issue that has spoken there.
Yes, to just add to some of the things that Yvan had mentioned, I think it's very important you just take this as a challenge to cultivate your own authentic voice, because the Mandela Rhodes Scholarship is all about authenticity and how to build that as a leader, right? At the end of the day, you're eventually gonna come to like the interview stage, which is more of the last stage, right? And some of the things that the people that are going to interview you want to see is that voice that you reflected in your essay, what you talked about, all of those things. They're not going to ask you about the current, like maybe politics going on, or like the current world economics, some of those things might come up if you mention them in your essay. So more of just take that as a challenge to cultivate more of your authentic voice, and more so. And another thing about the essay, just to maybe give you a few tips and maybe things that you can incorporate, maybe you can kind of try and find a theme within your, maybe the essays you write, and most of the things that maybe you're going to just put into your application, that kind of reflect the person you are. So maybe also the people that recommend you, maybe if you can try and just give them a few tips, so that maybe those things can also be reflected in your, like, maybe recommendation, your personal essays, and eventually what you write. So it's best that you kind of create a storyline that they can see in different aspects of your application. I think that will kind of just give them an idea of who you are, what you're doing, and kind of just reflect what is very important to the MRF, which is authenticity and just having that voice as a leader. So just keep in mind, remain authentic, and also try to just create a kind of a story that is reflected in every aspect of your application. Yeah.
All right, thank you for that, Fama. Grace, would you also want to respond to a few?
Yes, there's a question here on what opportunities are available after the scholarship. And what happens after the scholarship is that you get to join a network of alumni, and there are actually entrepreneurship prizes that you can compete for, because at this stage you have gone through the leadership mentorship. You have also gone through a little bit of training about what next after school. Yeah, so and the alumni network is really a great network that, like what Zolo alluded to earlier, he mentioned about the social capital. You're basically studying and you have relations with young leaders who have the same potential as you, if not greater than you. And so networking across, even after school, the social capital is really vital. And also the alumni network, you're kept posted on things that are happening. You're also eligible to apply and compete for the prizes that are given by the foundation to the alumni. Then the other thing is, if you can do your PhD, there is a limit or a requirement that the scholarship requires, that you should actually be between the age of 19 and 29. And also the other thing is that I don't know if there's a PhD that takes less than 2 years. In South Africa, I don't think there is a PhD that takes less than 2 years, because the scholarship is for a 1 year honors program, 1 year master's program, or a 2 years master's program. Yeah, so a PhD might not be eligible.
Thank you so much for clarifying on that, Grace, in terms of the age and the kind of programs that you need to apply for. I also saw someone ask about the fact that they're in broadcast in a diploma level. Whichever level you are at, you just need to place yourself within those limits of a 1 year honors or a 1 or 2 year masters. That may mean if you're in diploma, then have you covered the scope to qualify you to do an honors? If you are currently at a master's, would you want to do a second master's? If you've done a PhD, you want to do another master's. If you're doing a bachelor's, where in your bachelor's are you, and where would you fit in either the 1 year 1 year honors or 1 year or 2 year masters? So there was that as well. I would want to request the scholars also to talk about, of course, the issue of age has been mentioned. The 29 years is the upper limit. The issue of community has been spoken about. Someone has also asked about the steps involved. So, Fama, would you like to speak to to that, to respond to that even as we proceed? The levels that will be taken.
Oh, more of the application, yeah. Thank you for that. And to just maybe talk about some of those things. But before I go there, maybe just also try to visit the MRF website. You will find all the necessary information there, and also more of maybe a little bit information about the steps involved, right? So the first thing first, which is the most important part, is creating a well-tailored application that highlights all the different aspects of who you are and why you're interested in the MRF scholarship. So once that is done, pretty much everything else is not in your hands, is in the hands of the MRF. So after you submit your application, you will definitely receive an email which would tell you that your application has been submitted. So after that, pretty much you'll be updated on the progress of your application. You'll be told that maybe you have made it to the next round or not, right? So within those two phases of making it to, I believe, the second and the third round, pretty much you will just be receiving email from the MRF, and they will inform you, hey, you have moved to this round, and you have moved to the next round. So just kind of expect an email from a person called Ernest, right? So maybe just open that quickly and you will see how far you have gotten there. So after that, which is the most interesting part, is the interview part, right? So that's the part where you'll be invited to MRF, and the most exciting part is that you will be visiting Nelson Mandela's former home in Cape Town. I believe for me that was the most exciting part of the interview, because he's someone I really admired. So, and I think pretty much everything will be paid for. I believe the only thing that you have to take care of is maybe your visa fee. Your flight will be paid for, accommodation will be paid for, and everything else will be paid for. And during the interview, you'll be interviewed by maybe the CEO and a few other people that work within the MRF Foundation, or some people that maybe are just part of the organization in general. I think that's the part that pretty much determines if you get the scholarship or not. So you don't really have to prepare much on the interview. Pretty much it's about yourself, maybe your values, and just what makes you the person that you are today. So you don't have to go and read maybe an article or something. I'm one of those persons that went to read a lot about Nelson Mandela, and that was not really helpful, because I thought that maybe one of those things will come up. So actually watching, as I mentioned earlier, some videos from Yvon's YouTube channel was really helpful to help me prepare for my interview. And just an advice for maybe the people in STEM. I always make that joke that sometimes people in STEM maybe fail at the interview stage, because a lot of us haven't really done the work when it comes to maybe just bringing our ideas forward, and you end up seeing a lot of lawyers within the MRF program at the end of the day. So just to maybe wrap it up, once you send the application, you'll be updated on the progress of your application, and then when you get to the interview stage, you'll be maybe just kind of invited to come to South Africa, and you'll be interviewed by the MRF, and maybe a week or a few days after you will get your results. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Fama, for mentioning, and that's a very elaborate explanation of it. And I think just to chime in on what you've mentioned, the fact that this is the most critical part of the application. Of course, there are stages, but the in-between stages between now and the interview, you'll not do anything. You'll just be told you've proceeded or not. Then during the interview, you'll be questioned mostly about yourself. So you have to make the best impression at this level, because this is when it really counts. I don't know, Grace, had you responded to some of the questions, a question or two before we pick more?
Okay. Does the scholarship offer monthly stipend? Yes, it's a fully funded scholarship. So there's definitely a monthly stipend. It's fully funded. Yeah. I think are the interviews conducted physically? When you get, there's only one interview, and that is after you've passed the 4 rounds of the screening. The application screening will go through 3 stages. Yes, then now if you make it to the fourth round is when you do the interviews and they are conducted physically. Yeah.
All right. Allow me to respond also to the question about recommenders. And someone asked about what if I wanted my primary school teacher to write for me and they've since changed. Yes, you can still have them write and say they were your teacher at that point in time. I had a recommender who had since left the organization, but she had supervised me in that organization. So they write in their capacity, and just mention they supervised you or they were your teacher at that point in time. So it still counts. The person who applied before, yes, I think it would be important to just mention that you had a profile and say yes, because I mean, it's in their system, so they have access to it. So don't be shy to apply again and again. I think a good chunk of the scholars get it at the second, the third. I've had a third application. So yes, don't be shy to say you've applied before. And yes, if you've not gotten it before, please try again. There's also the issue about, maybe I can ask Yvan to respond to, now that he has prominently spoken about essays. The essay you write, should it be about a problem which you should solve or where you simply want change? Yvan, you can touch on that, please.
So the question, the essay on the cleaving issue, should it be something that you want to solve, or I did not get. Oh, hello. Are you getting me? Hello.
Hello, Yvan. I think we can hear you. You can go on.
Yes, I like. Please, could you repeat the question?
The question is that on the polarizing issue that you're writing about, should it be an issue you have already solved, or you just desire to see change in it?
Oh, okay. It should be a societal, I mean, society issue. It should be something in your community, and you don't necessarily need to have something like you shouldn't be part of you shouldn't have done something per se or be doing something to solve it. Like it's more of like you are giving your own point of view, because the idea, okay, from what I observe, the first essay of like the personal statement is to understand who you are. Is for the foundation to understand, the people reading your application to understand who you are, what is your life, like where do you come from, and what are your aspirations, to also motivate them to see them if you fit into the scholarship, to see if your life story fits into what they are trying to portray. If maybe you are somebody, your father is a king somewhere, you have money, you don't need money to go to school, and it is in your story, like somebody reading your application might not want to pick you for the scholarship, because I mean, you already have all the money. The scholarship is to help people go to school. If you don't necessarily care about like what is reconciliation or whatever, so the essays are basically to show your potential to do something and to show your how suitable you are for the scholarship. Now, the essay on the cleaving issue is to show how you understand the issue at hand. Like, are you able to look at your society and understand what is dividing people? Are you capable of thinking about a solution? You might be part of the solution. You might be doing something in your community working. That is even best. If maybe in your society, maybe, I don't know, homosexuality, for example. No, let me change the topic. If in your society, for example, teenage pregnancy is a problem, young people are getting pregnant, and some people are like, know what, these people getting pregnant are prostitutes, let us kill them. And you are like, oh no, your line of work is maybe like working on how to help these teenage pregnant mothers to get inserted in the society. That is best. It means that you are going to be speaking with more authority because you are part of the solution. But if you're not part of the solution, it's still fine. You present the issue, and when you're writing, you try to write it in a way that you present the origin of the problem, of the cleaving issue. You present what the cleaving issue is doing. You present what are the consequences of this cleaving issue, and you present what are the consequences, I mean, for the future consequences. Then also now you bring forth your own solutions. Like, you know what, this is the problem we have. I think if we do like this, this is how we can solve it. So if you're already part of the solution, that is best. But if you're not already part of the solution, just give your own perspective about like the solution that you want, and it should really be something that holds you at heart, something that you understand very well, and something that you're capable of articulating properly. So you don't have to be part of the solution already, but you need to have a solution. The way you are writing, you should propose a solution, and you should propose something that is usually something that is in line with the values of the foundation. I'll give you an example. This is a family conversation. In my own essay, I was speaking about the war in my country. And my solution was that it is important for the government and the rebels to come on the same table and discuss about the issue at hand. I'm not into peacemaking. I'm a medical doctor, catching people up to save their life. But I think we should bring people together, and thinking like that is part of the value of the foundation, which is reconciliation. Bringing two people who are fighting on the same table so that they can find a solution together, because two wrong never makes a right. So two people who are like fighting, you need to bring them together. So you see, it ties with the value of the foundation, whereby this is somebody who is thinking about a solution. He's not saying that, you know what, the government should kill all the rebels so that there should be peace. The government can do that. They have the guns, they have the power, they can do that. But no, the solution I'm bringing is a solution where there is peace, there's reconciliation, and people sit on the same table, discuss the solution, and look forward together. So that is how you should craft your essay. Make it be around something that you master and everything, and then it should be in line with the values of the foundation. Always make sure that everything you write is in line with the values of the foundation. You will never go astray if you do that. I don't know if I answered the question.
You did. And allow me also to say, in response also to a question that had been asked earlier, do I have to align to all the values? I would say try as much as you can, as much as is possible, to align with as many as you can. You don't force issues. Don't like come up with a situation where you fit such that you're a perfect square. But as much as you can, reflect the values. It's just the way when you're writing a CV to a particular role, you try and ensure as much as possible your CV aligns to what the job is looking for. So do as much as you can to see that you fit into the values, but you don't have to, like Fama had mentioned. Talking of which, allow me to request Fama to respond to Clinton Kibet's questions. He's saying, I'm a mechanical engineering undergraduate. Can I get master's program in line with my profession? How long can it take? How can I go about the application? And which institution can fit mechanical engineering? I would like you, Fama, to speak to, again, the programs applicable, what someone needs to know in terms of finding the course that fits them, much as I feel you've spoken a bit about that. And then Grace, also please speak to the issue of the English requirement and any other basic requirements that is needed. So we've mentioned that as well. Fama?
Yes, I think I saw that message. I was like, I think I might be the best person to help the person that asked this question. Yes, if you have an undergraduate degree in mechanical engineering, I believe UCT, Stellenbosch, and a few other universities do offer that course, especially if you want to study in like maybe master's degree level, right? I think honestly, this scholarship is about doing it yourself, right? It's just about being proactive and going to the MRF website. Like all the necessary information you need will be there, and also maybe just going to the websites of the schools that you're interested in, right? So I will advise you to maybe, if you're planning to do a master's, maybe research master's, if that, maybe talk to a potential supervisor and just tell him about your interests or like what you want to do. And also like just go and check maybe the department website, right? And maybe just consider maybe the kind of department that you're interested in and what school is really good at it, right? So we have UCT, which is actually the number one in South Africa, but it's not number one in all the different courses. You have to remember that it might be, let's say for example, economics might be number one, but it doesn't mean that it's best at mechanical engineering or economics. So just make sure to just find about the little details. And someone did ask about if they need to maybe, I believe, put their academics in their personal statement. If that is definitely an important aspect of your life and you want to highlight certain aspects of it, yes, definitely. But don't make your whole personality about your academics and how smart you are. Remember, everyone applying to the MRF is equally smart. You remember, you have to just keep that in mind. So it's important to highlight other things that makes you different. Saying so doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't maybe talk about like about your achievements. That is something that it's very important that you mention different aspects of yourself, what makes you different. And finally, also just make sure you look at the core principles and just try to align with that as much as possible. You don't have to necessarily align with everything, but just make sure that your stories is authentic and that you just try to align with some of those things. If it's one or two, as long as it's yours, that's the most important aspect. And you have to remember, you don't have to maybe make up stories to try and like maybe just fit into all the boxes or all the principles that are there. Yeah, so that is something to just keep in mind.
Great, thank you for that. Grace, you can go ahead as well. And then while talking about the qualifications, you can also mention the issue of someone who is saying they graduated with a credit. You can speak to that. And while you gather your thoughts to speak about that, let me piggyback on something Fama has said about which institution, because as we had mentioned, you need to justify your course and why you're doing it. It is true that UCT is the best on the continent, and we all aspire to go to UCT. It's an amazing school, but various universities have different strengths. To give my experience, I applied to UCT, but then later discovered Rhodes is the best for media studies, and then I went ahead to shift to Rhodes instead. So look out for what will be valuable for you in terms of your career progression moving forward, which institution fits that that pattern, which program fits that pattern. And then it has just crossed my mind. Someone asked about, do I have to apply to a program in my career line? No, you can feel free to say, I have been studying media, but now I want to become a doctor. Not possible, but you'll need to justify. I have friends who have a media background, but then went ahead to apply for community development. All you need to do is to justify, but then you need to keep in mind that while applying to those institutions, it will be slightly more difficult for you to get into a program whose background you do not have. So you need to have enough justification for why you want to make the jump. So over to you, Grace.
Thank you, Emmah. So on the qualifications, guys, you can get more about this on the website, but for English, one of the requirements for the scholarship is that you can study at postgraduate level in English, and that is because the medium of instruction in South African universities is English. So if you're coming, I know this is not a problem for people in East African countries and even South African countries. But for West Africa, you can show that either your course was taught in English, and you can also ask your university if a test showing your proficiency in English can stand in for you. Because even as you submit your transcripts and your degree certificate, you must include English translations for the part for the documents that are not in English. So you can, if you come from West African countries, Francophone countries, you can show that the medium of instruction used in your undergraduate was English, or you can ask your department if an English test score can stand in for your proficiency in English, because the postgraduate levels, actually the education in South Africa is conducted in English. Yeah, but the other qualifications include you must be a citizen of an African country. We have talked about the age limit from 19 to 29. So citizenship of an African country doesn't necessarily mean that you should have studied in Africa, No, you're a citizen, but you studied abroad. So as long as you're a citizen of an African country, you are eligible. Then you graduated with upper second class honors. I think that's part of the qualification. I don't know what a credit is, because in the Kenyan system, we don't have credits for undergraduate. Maybe if the person can clarify, but it doesn't harm to put out your application and see how it goes. Yeah, so just put out your best application, your strong application, and see how it goes. But part of the qualification is a second class honors. And if you're in South Africa, I think that is a 70%. Yes, if you got 70% and above, if you're doing the South African system. Then the other things are on the values of the foundation, which we have explored. Yes, you aspire to be an ethical leader, reconciliation, and all that, entrepreneurship, education, yes, all that. Thank you, Emmah.
Great, thank you for that, Grace. Let me throw it back to Yvan, and to respond to the question of does UCT, it is written UTC, I don't know if it implied UCT or any other institution, but you can speak to it. School of Public Health, does it have a Department of Social and Behavioral Health? I checked through the website, but it's a bit confusing. Yvan, you can speak to that, and also mention a bit about the entire concept of honors and masters now from your country's perspective. I had talked about from a Kenyan standpoint. I don't know how it works in other countries, but you can speak about that. Then I'll ask Fama to talk about the recommendations and where to get the letterhead. From my I'm giving it to Fama because I don't know how it works in your country, but for me, the direct question was if your teacher is writing. The letterhead is about endorsing which organization they've worked for. So if it's a school, then that school's letterhead. If it's an organization, then that organization's letterhead. But over to you, Yvan.
Okay, so thank you for that, Emmah. I think Emmah pretty much did answer the question. So more of a letterhead, if you're applying from your school, I think you need your school letterhead. And if someone maybe from like an organization is writing a recommendation letter for you, you need maybe their organization's letterhead pretty much. And maybe it will be very helpful if you can maybe just have your school stamp or the signature of the person writing the application for you. And just to maybe add one or two details regarding what Grace said. I'm not sure if maybe you are required to study in like English, because I studied in Chinese and I didn't do my undergrad in English, but I'm from an English speaking country. I'm from the Gambia. It's in West Africa, but it's more of an Anglophone country. So maybe if you can find one or two things that can be helpful in that area. But I was able to maybe translate my transcript and a lot of my documents in English to be able to apply for the scholarship, right? So I believe for Kenyans, it will be pretty much easy because most of you maybe did study it in English like back home. So that's on that. But for your, let's say just your letters of recommendation, whoever is recommending you, either a professor, maybe just having your school stamp and a signature to just prove that maybe the recommendation letter is legit and it's not something that is faked. I think more of the letterhead is just to show that this is a legit recommendation letter and it's something not faked by you or someone that you know. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Great, thank you for that. Yvan, the issue of medical school and the levels of honors and masters.
Thank you very much. I was muted. So Grace said something very important, like that this scholarship is basically I think it was Grace or Fama, that this scholarship is more of a proactive kind of thing. So anything that you need about this scholarship, that is also what is really impressive with MRF, because sometimes we think oh no, it's road trust and everything, a lot of money being spent, it means that this application needs to be very difficult. No, it's the easiest thing. In fact, it's so easy to apply for the scholarship. All the information you need are found on website. If you need information about the school where you want to apply, go on the school website. Like, and what is also interesting is that in South Africa, websites are well kept, like they are well maintained, which means that all the information you need are there. If there's no information that you need, that is, I mean, the information you need is not there, there's going to be a contact, somebody you can send an email to or even call, and they will reply to you. They'll give you all the information. So I don't necessarily know a lot about public health because I'm not in public health, I'm in global surgery. Yeah, but I think if you need information about that, go on the website of the university, read through, read in details. You'll find anything, and if you don't find the answer, there's going to be an email. You can send an email. You can call. They are going to reply within 7 days. They'll reply, especially UCT, University of Cape Town. They always reply. Even for the Mandela Rhodes Scholarship, like anything you need is on the website. Frequently asked questions, requirements, everything you read online. I mean, and everything. And if you don't have anything, I think most of their YouTube videos they can also help you. The concept of honors and masters, I think what you explained is perfect. So usually what they do is honors is mainly for those degrees where they are like less than 4 years. So if you have any degree like undergraduate that is less than 4 years, you will need an honors according to the South African system. Even if you are an engineer of, I don't know, space systems, and I mean, space things are the most difficult things. So even if you're a mechanical engineer, your mechanical engineering was 3 years or 2 years, you have to do an honors. So honors is usually just in terms of the length of your undergraduate. So you need an honors. You cannot just leave an undergraduate of 3 years on your country and apply for a master's. It's not going to work like that. So you need to apply for an honors before going for the master's. So I think basically, and the master's is for if you had an undergraduate degree that is 4 years or more than 4 years duration. Like for example, medicine is 7 years. So you qualify for a master's in the South African system. And also if you already have an honors, you qualify for a master's. If you already have a master's, you qualify for a master's. So basically, that is how it is. That is how the system is being done. But as I said, anything you need to know is on the website. Everything you need to know, everything. The website, and if you don't understand something, send an email to somebody, send a call to somebody. But before doing that, really take time to read, because those are also the qualities the foundation wants to see in you. Somebody who is proactive. And they were speaking about the stipend, like the money. Do you have monthly stipend? The foundation gives you all your money, like for 6 months, they give it to you at once. So if you want, you go and sit in a bar, drink it all, then you're going to suffer. So it's just like from the application process to the interview to the life of a scholar. This thing is basically for personal development, as I said earlier. It really helps you to grow from a child or from an aspiring leader to somebody who actually knows what they want for themselves, and you learn a lot. You commit a lot of mistakes, but you also learn a lot, and you have time to correct yourself, to amend yourself. So everything you need is online. Everything you need is online. Just be proactive. Do not self-isolate. Do not self-exclude yourself and be like, you know what, this is not for me. Go in and look for everything you need online. Yeah, basically.
Perfectly put, Ivan. And I'll be getting back to Grace to ask her about what makes a good recommendation letter, what needs to be in there, because there's more questions on the recommendation letter. But allow me to respond to some of what has been asked directly. I've received a question about which school is good for humanities. I'm not sure. I wouldn't say for a fact, but I would say, one, look at trends. I think when I was trying to apply, I was looking at the people who have studied in South Africa who I look up to where they study. I spoke to a number of my lecturers or people I knew who had studied up to master's, PhD. I think they might have an idea. Talk to people, look up people on what is it called? LinkedIn. But the website is the Bible for this thing, guys. Read that website. Read it again, read the profiles of previous scholars, so that you see, after you've read it a few times, you get to see a trend, and what we've talked about then begins to align. Thank you for sharing that website over there. Someone also asked about deadlines. Systems work here. So as much as you can, try and apply before the deadline. But should you miss the deadline for application, feel free to write to the course conveners. It works. It worked for me. So don't be afraid if you're passed by the deadline. Explain yourself. Like Yvan could say, be proactive. If you want it really bad, you will write to anyone and everyone. I hear many scholars give that testimony that they wrote to everyone. Someone wrote to a former VC, but you don't want to do that. So be ahead of your timelines, be in time, and things like that. But then even if you miss it, feel free to communicate. Another thing that pretty much touches on the experience I had, I've seen a few people ask, I'm still doing my undergraduate. The requirement according to the MRF website is that if you will be starting your program at the beginning of 2025, because the academic year in South Africa begins in February. So if you'll be in a position where you will be able to begin your academic year at the beginning of 2025, that means you will have had all your papers to qualify for your institution by then by all means, start your application. MRF is not responsible for your school application, as had been mentioned earlier. So they'll just ask you, where's your admission? They won't intervene for you. So that is in your court. So please ensure you're ahead of your game in that. In my case, I finished my undergraduate in July of last year, 2023. And my graduation was on 15th of December 2023. And the academic year in Rhodes or in South Africa begins in February. So they were very, very narrow timelines, which is a lot of pressure. But hey, take the chance. If it fits and you have confidence that it might just work, take the chance, I mean. Also, let me also just comment on the issue of the honors. The honors is not a bad idea. It's good to have that, to be open-minded about it. It's still an opportunity for learning. I know of situations where people had completed their 4-year bachelor's degrees, but then universities in South Africa are just like, nope, the best we can give you is an honors. If you find yourself in that situation, embrace it. It's an opportunity for learning. You would have gathered new knowledge. You'd have gotten the MRF experience. I mean, if it fits in your life journey, by all means, take it. And in the spirit of widening your chances, towards the end, as you now begin to apply for schools and more, yeah, why not put in applications for honors as well, just in case. So I think I would leave it at that and throw it over to Grace to speak a bit about what makes a good recommendation. And then after that, we will get into winding up. So I would ask Fama and Yvonne to prepare a parting shot for this as we close it up. But yeah, what I wanted to say is that this recording will be made available for you if you had registered, and will be shared. So over to you, Grace.
Thank you, Emmah. So before I delve into what would make a good recommendation, and I also urge the other scholars to delve in after me to add some of the points that I might miss out on. There's this question about what would happen if the university deadline has passed for the program you want to study the time you get your scholarship. So don't wait to get your scholarship, then apply for admission. The deadline for the scholarship, of course, comes first before the deadline for admission. So the wisest thing is to get your scholarship application done, and then right after delve into application for admission. So you cannot actually have this scenario if you do that. And then the other thing is you're informed about the outcome of the scholarship way before the academic year starts in South Africa. So the academic year starts in January. You will get information about the progress of your application by November. So this is not actually a situation that can happen. And then also the other thing I wanted to emphasize is cast your bread in many waters, as the Holy Book tells us. So do not leverage on one university, UCT. No, just apply to different other universities. And the beautiful thing is that universities in South Africa are actually top in Africa. So don't feel bad if you can't get to UCT, but you've gotten admission at Stellenbosch or Rhodes, or University of Pretoria. Universities in South Africa are actually the best in Africa. So what makes a good recommendation letter? One, I would say, look out for people who can give truthful witness or account of yourself, people who can actually give content about you, people who know you. Don't just merely go for titles, go for people who can give a weighty testimony of you, people who know you and can give content to you. And also people who have done references before. I think that's why professors or university professors sometimes can come out as the best, because they're used to this type of things, writing references to students. But for me, it is I went for people who knew me, even more, even part of the blind spots that I didn't know about myself. The Johari's window, that bit that is not known to you, but is known to other people who have worked with you or who have been with you in your journey. Yeah, go for those people. Give them highlights, of course, based on the values of the foundation, because it will be based on that. When they sit to evaluate your application, it will be based on the values and the pillars of the foundation. I think for me, those are my 2 cents. Maybe other scholars, Fama, Yvan, if you may want to add onto that. Thank you.
Thanks as well, Grace. You make a great point. Fama, as you speak to that, also as you add to what Grace has said, probably you can also speak to the issue of what do you need as you come for the interview from the perspective of your context.
Yeah. Thank you, Grace, and thank you, Emmah. I think Grace did mention really important aspect of the recommendation letter. I think one thing that maybe I can just add is that maybe if you can just help your recommender and just send them the link to the MRF, so that maybe they can read through it and just know how to maybe personalize your recommendation letter, so that it can just fit better when it comes to the whole MRF pillars and the principles that they work with. So I think that will be something that perhaps you can do, or maybe if you can just write 1 or 2 drafts, something like that, and be like, hey, maybe I would like you to talk about this specific aspect. And also maybe perhaps you can find someone that can talk about like your academics, like say a professor will leadership more of you in different parts of your life, and not just focus on one, like maybe person. Let's say you just find 3 different professors and they all talk about your academics, right? I think that will not make for a good recommendation letters. And the last question, more of what you need for the interviews. I think all you need is to just bring yourself to South Africa, right? And just try to be authentic as possible. I just keep saying the word authenticity, because that is something that is very important, especially important if you're looking forward to being part of the MRF family. We support one another, we hear each other out, and we support each other in our authenticity as young leaders from the continent, right? So just bring yourself, and maybe if you're from a country that you require a visa to come to South Africa, maybe try and get that early, and then you can just come here. So about funding for the interview, I saw that someone was asking about that. They take care of everything, your flight tickets, your accommodation, your like ground transportation while you're in South Africa. I believe all you need to do is maybe just pay for your visa application while you're gonna be here. And yeah, it's actually a very chill and like good situation when you come here for the interview. You might meet maybe some of us. If you come for the interview next year, we'll be there, we'll be cheering for you guys, and we'll be supporting you throughout the process, right? And yeah, so you don't really have to worry much as long as you are able to make it to the interview like stage. Just keep going, and I think everything will turn out well. Yeah.
Beautiful put. Let me also just add to the fact that now a majority of the guys on this call are Kenyan. Luckily, Kenyans do not need a visa to come to South Africa for less than 90 days. So get your passport, guys. There will be no loss in applying for a passport for whichever. So yeah, you can start working on that as soon as possible, because I think that's all you'll need for Kenya, and your yellow fever. Yellow fever, I don't know if COVID is important still, but I heard a bit about that during that time. So I would ask Ivan also to chime into that in case of anything. Thank you for responding to that question, Ivan, about the limit of the number of people who can be taken. There's also a question of how can guys reach you in case they need more information. For me, please message me on LinkedIn. I'll be sure to respond as soon as possible. That for me is the easiest way to reach me. Ivan, I still see more questions coming in on how many people get the scholarship, so you can speak to that as you add on to anything else you'd want to add on to as we bring this to a close.
Okay, thank you. So regarding the questions around the number of scholars, what happens during the interview, I don't think they are very important now, because right now we are preparing to, like, I think we should be systematic. Right now we are preparing to apply for the scholarship, how to write essay, personal statement. That is the most important now. So you should focus on that now, and how to get your recommendation and everything. That's what you should focus. Don't crowd your mind with a lot of things. So get those things, like those should be the essays, your essays, your recommendations, and basically that is how those are the most important information. And choosing your university, like the course you would like to do, that's where you should focus your mind now. Don't crowd your mind with the interview. When the interview comes, you learn what you have to do for the interview. You're going to learn about it. So don't worry about that now. Don't worry about the number of people they take. What the mindset I always have, or not necessarily all the time, I think sometimes when I'm really down, I don't have this mindset, but the mindset you should have is, for the MRF scholarship, give your best. Like, don't worry about who they are going to take, how many people, because, for example, in a year they might want to say, you know what, we need only to have one doctor. So you are not competing with everybody else. You are competing with other doctors, and you don't know the number of doctors applying. Or maybe in a year they will be like, you know what, we have had many people from Cameroon. This year we need one person from Cameroon, and maybe we need 10 from Kenya. So you cannot know, you never know, because those are internal policies, those are internal politics of the foundation. Nobody knows apart from what people working in the foundation. So if you're trying to know the number of people applying, the number of people, you crowd your mind for nothing. It's going to disturb you. Don't worry about all those things. Just focus on having the best application, showing yourself the best way, and that is it. And do not maybe as closing remarks, don't worry about, like, do not self-isolate or discriminate. I don't know if it's the right word. Like, do not eliminate yourself. Go in, show in your best, give in your best, write your essays yourself, proofread it yourself, go write it, go and sleep, come back, read it again. Ask yourself, if I'm choosing somebody for this scholarship, given the pillars of the scholarship, given the values of the scholarship, given the profiles of other scholars, am I going to select such person to move on? Ask such questions to yourself, and then you'll be like, no, this person said this thing. If maybe they did not say this thing, I could have selected them. Now you yourself go again, you edit those things. So, like, that's the work you should be doing. Like, be autocritical, but do not also be too critical about it. Like, to try to think about, if somebody is selecting somebody, are they going to select me? Yes. And then try to see where should I emphasize more and everything, and try to read stories about other scholars and all. And the other thing I would like to add is that this is a great scholarship. You see, it's a great scholarship. And what is amazing is that you don't spend money to apply for this thing. Like, you don't spend anything. You don't need to have English proficiency test or whatever. No, you just carry yourself, you write your essays, you get your recommendations, you send them online, free, nothing. You don't pay anything. But when you see the opportunities it opens to you, you are like amazed that how did I get such an amazing thing for free, basically. So just make sure that you focus on everything. So it's a great scholarship, but it's not the only scholarship available. So in as much as it is great, it is not the only one. And it's not, as I said, I don't like saying things like best or not best or whatever. It's a great scholarship, but you should not limit yourself to it. Apply for it, apply for other things. Apply for as many other things. I think there is a scholar, there's somebody who applied for the Mandela scholarship. He was not taken, but he got the MasterCard scholarship, which when you look at kind of the application process of the MasterCard scholarship is kind of more complicated than the Mandela scholarship. But he got it and he did not get one. You see, so it is do not limit yourself. You might not get this one, you might get something else, and it still makes you an amazing person. You are still an amazing person. You still have a lot to contribute to the continent, and all not. So don't limit yourself to this, but give in the best of yourself while applying for this. Go in and kill the game, put all the chances on your side, select the best recommenders and everything. And and as usual, if you're a Christian, pray. After doing all these things, pray. Like, you lose nothing to pray. You lose nothing by taking a fast or two, maybe 1 month of fasting. You lose nothing. If you're a Muslim, same thing. Pray. Whatever religion you are, you're animist, you don't even believe in anything. Pray in whatever you believe. Like, put some spirituality to it, because I believe as humans, and this scholarship is about humans, about leaders, and leaders are leading people, which means that they themselves should be in a way grounded. So you should have some spirituality about it, or something that defines you as a person. So do not forget, do not neglect that part. Give in your best, but also go back to yourself and what are your core beliefs, what your spirituality is focused on, and also make it part of your application. You can take a fast, you can pray, you can ask your family to pray with you, you can ask friends to pray with you. And and if you don't get the scholarship, you are still an amazing person. You are still a lovely person. You are still going to contribute amazing things to this continent and the world. So that's what I had to add.
Well, very well put, Yvan. And even as we throw it back to the other scholars to share parting shots, there is no money involved. That is true. There's no application fee, and just need to get your documents in order for yourself. Grace and Fama, you can also give us a parting shot as we draw to a close, and share how people can find you if you're willing to support beyond this point.
Yeah. So also I saw like a very interesting conversation here in the chat. They were like, the Kenyans said that they're really interested in numbers. So to just put it out there, since I'm also a number girl, the acceptance rate is 3%. I know that is very low, right? But it shouldn't discourage you from applying for this scholarship. You might be the one that just get accepted into this program. And even like someone saying, if you have a credit or not so good grade, I won't say you shouldn't apply. You should definitely apply, because this scholarship process is very interesting. It's just about how good you are with academics. It's about you whole as a person. They might take you over someone who graduated with first class, because you are embodying the principles of the MRF more than that person. So that is just something to keep in mind, and remember to make sure that you highlight what makes you a really good potential candidate for this scholarship. And if you want to reach out to me, feel free. I'm on LinkedIn as Fama, Fama Jallow, Jallow. So you can easily find me on LinkedIn. And to just give you another piece of advice, just make sure that you just check the website with every questions you have. While I was applying for this scholarship, I didn't have all of this, what I had just to guide me through the whole process was just the website. And maybe if you have 1 or 2 questions, maybe you can just reach out to one of us here and just send us a quick message on LinkedIn. But it was great being here and able to answer your questions. And I'm definitely looking forward to maybe meeting some of you in the future and welcoming you as part of the MRF family.
Thank you so much for that, Fama. Just put the name on the chat. Just to respond to Claire, we have talked quite a bit about the SAPA verification, so you'll be sure to get this recording and you can refer to that. Grace, go ahead.
Thank you, Emmah. A bit also on maybe things that can help you as you apply is go to the website, look at the scholars. I'm sure you will see the number of scholars that have been admitted every year. So familiarize yourself with the stories of the scholars. Also, don't get intimidated by that, because through this, as I said earlier, everyone has a unique story. I think for me, the greatest amount of time I spent while applying for the scholarship is actually trying to think and reflect on my life and put up a story about my life and the processes that have involved my life. So for me, that is what I would urge you guys: thoughtfulness into your writing, reflections and principles that tie to yourself and the things that you have done, as opposed to I, myself, and me, I did this, I did that. No, thoughtfulness and reflections that tie into your principles, and ultimately into the principles of the foundation. Then if it was meant for you, it will come. It will be yours. It will be yours. Do your best. If this is yours, if this is where God wants you, you will surely get it. You will get it despite of everything. Yeah, but as also other scholars have said, it is actually pretty intuitive. Once you start your application, everything just flows. Like, you don't need a guide, a step-by-step guide, because the application portal is very intuitive. It will lead you from one step to another, and it will be pretty clear for you. So yes, cast your nets wide. I hope and trust if this is for you, it will be for you. Just do your best. Yes.
Thank you so much for that, Grace. From my end, I would also like to appreciate each of you for coming. Maybe as a scholar, I would also say what stood out for me in this scholarship is the fact that, as has been mentioned over and over, the focus is on who you are as a person, your values, your belief system, what drives you to do the things you do. You do not have to have done something out of this world, but if that which motivates you to do the little things you're doing is based on values, then this scholarship is for you. I think the one thing I love most about it is the fact that it's not just about academics. It's about who you are as a person, your values, and an all-round perspective into leadership and excellence and life in general. So with that, allow me to, Grace, you didn't tell us how people can reach out to you in case they need more tips and advice from you. Ivan, we have learned that you have a YouTube channel. Guys, look out for you scholars YouTube channels. People share a lot of experiences. I think I binged on some of those videos. So yeah, Grace and Ivan, in case you'd want to share more avenues for you to be reached, please drop them in the chat for us. We'll be sharing this recording, as I have mentioned before. In case you had registered through the link, it will come to your email address. But if not, I want to believe Transcending Africa, led by John Mwati, as well as Youth Up Global, will post this on their social media. I request all the scholars as well to share the link on their social media platforms so that the word can go as far as it can. I think with that, allow me to wish all of you all the very, very best. Do not disqualify yourself. It might just be your turn in 2025. So without further ado, it's been a real honor to host you for this meeting. Feel free to leave at your own pleasure, and feel free to reach out to MRF scholars. MRF is a very warm family. I'm sure most of the scholars will be willing to help if you reach out to them. So have a very lovely night, and hopefully see you in November or October when you come for the interviews. But if not, see you in all the other scholarships that you guys have everything it takes to get. Bye-bye, guys.